Have you ever felt like something in your life just isn't quite clicking? Like you're doing everything right but success, happiness, or even peace of mind keeps slipping through your fingers? What if I told you that society, the very world around you, has been subtly training you to be average? And I'm not talking about being average in a good way. No, this kind of average holds you back, prevents you from reaching your full potential, and keeps you stuck in a cycle of mediocrity. You see, society has a way of shaping us, of molding us into a version of ourselves that fits into an idealized but ultimately limiting box. From the time we're children, we're taught to conform, to follow a specific set of rules, and to pursue paths that don't necessarily lead to fulfillment or success. Instead, they lead to comfort, to staying within a defined boundary. But the problem is, success, happiness, and greatness rarely come from staying comfortable and following the conventional path. So let's dive into how society trains you to be average and why it's time to break free from that. It all begins in school, doesn't it? As kids, we're told that education is the key to success, that grades are the measure of our worth, and that following instructions is the best path to a successful life. But what if this system is actually designed to produce workers, not thinkers? Think about it. From an early age, we are taught to memorize and regurgitate information rather than encouraged to think critically, solve problems, or develop creative solutions. We're conditioned to sit still, raise our hands before speaking, and follow a strict set of rules. Rules that don't necessarily help us discover who we are or what we're truly capable of. In fact, the school system works against our natural curiosity. It discourages risk-taking and rewards conformity. If you're not good at memorizing facts or following instructions, you're labeled as lazy or not smart enough. But what about the kids who can think outside the box, who don't fit into the rigid system? They're often overlooked, labeled as troublemakers, and pushed aside. These kids, these free thinkers, are the ones who might one day change the world. But they're told to conform, to blend in, and that their way of thinking isn't good enough. As you grow older, society's influence doesn't stop at the classroom door. We're constantly told to stay in our lane, to stick to a job, follow a career, and to pursue a safe life. This culture of comfort is deeply ingrained in us. It's the idea that you need to follow a conventional path, get a stable job, buy a house, get married, have kids, and follow the predictable steps everyone else follows. Sure, there's nothing wrong with wanting stability, but it becomes problematic when society pushes us into this one-size-fits-all mold. It discourages us from stepping out of our comfort zones, taking risks, or exploring passions outside of the norm. Society often presents success as a clear, linear path, but what they don't tell you is that the most successful people didn't follow that path. They took detours, they stumbled, they failed, and they got back up, but they never conformed. They forged their own paths and became extraordinary by doing so. One of the biggest ways society trains us to be average is by promoting the 9-to-5 mentality. From a young age, we're told that success means working a full-time job, clocking in at 9 a.m., and clocking out at 5 p.m. We're taught to believe that job security is the ultimate goal, and that stability is more important than following our passions or taking risks. But here's the truth. The most successful people didn't become successful by following the typical 9-to-5 grind. Instead, they found creative ways to make money, built businesses, and pursued their passions. The key here is innovation, not tradition. They understood that working for someone else in a traditional role often means giving up your freedom, your creativity, and your potential for growth. Yet, society continues to tell you that working your whole life for someone else is the safe route. It tells you that job stability is everything, even though that's often a myth. In reality, the world is changing fast. Many traditional jobs are disappearing, and the new era of work requires creativity, adaptability, and the ability to break free from the 9-to-5 mindset. Let's talk about the role social media plays in this. You know how it feels, scrolling through Instagram or Facebook, seeing everyone's perfectly curated lives. Everyone seems so successful, happy, and content, and it can leave you feeling like you're falling behind. But here's the thing. Social media doesn't show the full picture. It doesn't show the struggles, the failures, or the times when everything went wrong. It only shows the highlights, the filtered version of reality. This pressure to keep up with everyone else leads to the false belief that you need to be perfect to succeed. Social media creates an illusion of success, making you believe that if you're not living the same lifestyle as the influencers or celebrities, you're falling behind. But this need to be constantly connected, constantly comparing yourself to others, is one of the biggest ways society trains you to be average. It makes you feel like you have to live up to an impossible standard, when in reality, success and happiness aren't about fitting into someone else's mold. They're about finding your own path. Perhaps the biggest way society trains you to be average is by instilling a deep fear of failure. From a young age, failure is often seen as a bad thing. In school, we're punished for failing tests or assignments, and we're told to try harder next time. But what if failure is actually the key to success? What if it's through failure that we learn, grow, and develop the resilience needed to achieve great things? Society's aversion to failure keeps us stuck in our comfort zones. It teaches us to avoid risk, to play it safe, and to never take chances. But the reality is, the most successful people failed countless times before they succeeded. Failure isn't something to be ashamed of, it's something to embrace. Every failure is a lesson, every setback is an opportunity to grow. But society tells us to avoid failure at all costs, which prevents us from ever achieving anything extraordinary. Now here's the good news. It's never too late to break free from the mold that society has tried to fit you into. You can choose to stop being average. You can choose to take risks, to fail, and to embrace your uniqueness. The first step is realizing that you're not bound by society's expectations. You are in control of your own life, your own path, and your own success. To break free, start by questioning everything you've been taught. Ask yourself, do I really want the life society has planned for me, or do I want to carve my own path? Start by pursuing your passions, even if they don't fit into the traditional idea of success. Focus on your personal growth, not how you compare to others. And most importantly, embrace failure as part of the process. The world is full of people who have defied society's expectations and achieved greatness. It's time for you to do the same. Don't let society train you to be average. Break free, be bold, and chase the extraordinary life you deserve. Society has spent years training us to be average, to fit into a box that doesn't leave room for creativity, passion, or growth. But you have the power to change that. The only thing holding you back is the belief that you have to follow the rules. You don't. It's time to stop being average and start living the life you were meant to live. Want to know amazing facts? Subscribe for more.